These are the Star Wars action figures of my Gen X toy collection. Since I have a pretty big collection of Star Wars toys, this is going to be the first video which is going to go through just the action figures. After that, I'll do videos for the toys, the playsets, the creatures, the vehicles and that. And then I'll have a video at the end on the little odds and ends that I have as well. All this will be getting sold as one giant collection at the end of it, and I'll either have a pre-arranged buyer or I'll be providing the eBay link for the auction. There's a lot of different ways you can organize the figures. What I'm using is the back of the cards that came with the figures. You can see back here you had all the figures and their names, and that's basically how I've lined these up as well. I did find a reference on the web, and it basically said which weapons go to which figures. So what you'll see as I go through here is everybody has a weapon that should have a weapon. Now some of them have substitute weapons, some of them might have extra weapons, and I do have some extras at the end that I'll talk about as well. When I go into what happened when I bought Lobot, you'll see why this is going to be one of the better collections you're going to find as far as being complete with the weapons that the figures should come with. The first figure is EV909, and you can see here he's got a little lever on the back of his head that makes his jaw go up and down. And he had no weapons from the factory, so he's as is. The next one is R2-D2, and this is the one with a periscope. So the periscope comes up, there are different variations. I think some had a maybe a pop-up lightsaber or something, but this is the one with the periscope. Still has his stickers on from the factory. There was a figure where Han came with Han and Carbonite, and it was him, the way he came out with whatever outfit he had on. I only have the Carbonite Han, and I think this is probably the one that actually came with the Boba Fett ship, not as part of the Han collection. So I think this is the one from Boba Fett, but just including that in here as well. The next one is Warrock, one of the Ewoks, the first of ours in this collection. And he has his bow and his little hood here and his satchel of arrows, quiver. I'll note at this point on the back of the card, the Imperial Dignitary would be the next one, but I don't have that figure, so I'm only discussing obviously the ones I have. So the next one that I have is Ramba, not to be confused with the vacuum robot. Ramba is another Ewok. Again, he has his hood and he's got a spear this time. The next is Barada, and I believe he was one of the skiff guard kind of Jabba's palace guards, some function there. Been a few years since I watched the movie. And he has his weapon with him as well. The next is Anakin, and if I remember right, I think this Anakin may have been one that I had to send away for. In other words, when you see my cards that I have from the figures that I bought, you'll see the little Kenner thing is cut out, and that's because there were special offers for Anakin, and I think the Emperor was the other one. And if you sent in enough of those, then you received the figure. So I think that's how I got Anakin. He has no weapons. The next one is Luke Battle Poncho. So this is what he was wearing when they took the Imperial shuttle down to Endor in Jedi. And in that movie, he had not only a blaster, but he also had his green lightsaber that he made his new one after Empire. And he's got his pouch and his belt as well. So everything appears there. The next one is Paplu. And Paplu has his double-pronged spear kind of looking thing with his hood. It's another one of the Ewoks. Next we have Amanaman. And this goofy looking thing, I believe, was somewhere in Jabba's palace, if I remember right. Even though he has kind of an Ewok looking staff, except a little creepier with the skull heads. And so he's got the weapon he came with as well. The last one in this row we have is Lumot. And Lumot also has a bow and his hood and his quiver of arrows. In the next row we have 8D8. And 8D8 was a torture droid at Jabba's palace. So after this guy would send him to their bad place, then this would be responsible for torturing. I think he was actually torturing a power droid in the film. And there were no weapons included with this guy. He's just there to use equipment to torture. Our next one is Han Solo in the trench coat. So this again was when the rebels were coming down in the Imperial shuttle to Endor, and he has the traditional blaster that Solo had in most films. And so everything is there for him. Despite all the creative names that George Lucas and his team came up with, this one they just called Prune Face. And he's got his cloak, his eye patch is molded in, and he has his rifle with him as well. Then we have Leia in the combat poncho. And this particular figure has the helmet that comes off. And if you recall that from the scene where she meets the Ewoks the first time, and she has her blaster pistol as well, her belt, and her poncho. Next is Klaatu, skiff guard. So we see him here, and he has his rifle with him. And some of these I should point out, like the arms and legs do move as they're supposed to, and I think most of them have a head that turns as well. This guy. So then we have Wicket. Wicket is the first Ewok that we see. He's the one that meets Leia, and he's got his spear and his hood. This is Bib Fortuna or however you want to say it. He's got the weird tentacles hanging around him. He's got his creepy trench coat and his, whatever that is, Kevlar or whatever inside, and his staff. And he's the one that stands behind Jabba and gives him bad intel. Next is the Rancor Keeper. And we'll discuss the Rancor in the next videos, but Rancor Keeper, I need to spend less time at the drive-thru. He's got his weapon, and he's got his hood, and he's sporting the skinhead look there. We have Luke, Jedi Knight. He has his pistol, and he has his green lightsaber and his cloak. So this is kind of the form he came in when he entered Jabba's palace. Here is the AT-ST driver, which is the fancy term for the Scout Walker. And he has his pistol, and you can see his little Imperial patch over there. I actually have two of the Emperors. They both have their canes. And this was another figure that I had to send away the proof of purchases to get the figures because they were one of those special deals like I think Anakin was. So I've got two of those with sticks. I won't pick them all up, but you can see I have 4 Emperor's Guards, and all of them have their robes they're supposed to, and their spears or lances or whatever you want to call it. 4 of those. This is another Klaatu. So I guess it's the same guy dressed in something different, and he has the Weequay or skiff guard type weapon with him, and his kilt, I guess. It doesn't look like a Scotsman. Then we have 2 of the Leia dressed as Bosch, whatever you want to call it. Each of the Bosch figures have the helmet that comes off and the long rifle. I've got 2 of those. Next is Nikto. He's another one of Jabba's lackeys, and he has his weapon as well. Then we have the B-Wing pilot, and he does have his blaster pistol. I have 2 of the T-bows, and both T-bows have their bag or horn, whatever that is, the hood, and their axe, tomahawk, whatever. So I got 2 of those. And again, with the less creative names, but very descriptive, we have Squidhead. And Squidhead has his cape and everything, and he has his blaster pistol as well. Next are the Bespin guards. So I have 3 Bespin guards, and you'll notice they do have different colored pistols. So for the original one here, this is how it was supposed to arrive with the blue pistol, and the other 2 have gray ones. So they still have a pistol, it's still the right shape and form, it's just the wrong color, it's gray instead of blue. Next is Darth Vader, best villain of any movie ever, maybe besides Hannibal the Cannibal. I have 2 Vaders, so both of them have the red lightsaber like they're supposed to, and it slides, if you recall, slide in and out like that. Vroom, vroom. And you can do the Vader breathing, the and the one has the black cloak yet as it should. So this one to me is, you know, perfect condition as it came. The other one, and this one was probably from a garage sale, but it has kind of a wraparound style cloak with a red inside. I actually don't know. I don't think this is the way it probably came. I think that might have come off somebody else. I'm not positive. But he does have his lightsaber, so just making you aware, there are 2 of them, but only one has the proper cloak. Next we have Zuckuss. And Zuckuss was a bounty hunter. I have 2 of the Zuckuss. This Zuckuss has the proper weapon, and this one has a weapon, but it's a substitute, it's not the correct one. So they both have a weapon, they're both in good shape. It's just that only one has the exact proper weapon as it came in the box. Next is the TIE Fighter pilot. You can see him there, and he does have his pistol that he came with. Then I have 2 Admiral Akbars, and they both have their little wand or whatever that is. It's a trap! I have 2 Lando Calrissians, only the helmet for one of them though. They both have their weapon, but only the helmet for one. Next is Chief Chirpa. I have 2 of these as well, and they both have their hoods and weapons like they're supposed to. Next I have 2 Weequays, and they also both have their weapons as they're supposed to. Then is Logray. I have 2 of these. It's the Ewok Medicine Man, and one of them has the weapon he's supposed to. The other one has a different weapon that's still an Ewok weapon, but not the one he should. They both have their helmets, and they both have their side pouches. Next are the 2 Rees. Kind of an ugly dude, but they both have their gold weapons. These weapons might be a little bit harder to find just because I think this was the only character that had those, but I do have both of them for these guys. Next are the Rebel Commandos. You can see that I have 3 of those. So this is the Rebel Commando. They all 3 have their rifles as they should, and these were the commandos that went down and fought on Endor with the Ewoks against the Imperials. Then we have Nien Nunb. He co-piloted the Millennium Falcon with Lando in the final battle in Return of the Jedi, and he has his pistol as well. General Madine, I believe he was back with the rebellion on the main base, helping plan the attack, and he's got his little white stick for hitting the chalkboard or whatever he does with it. Next are the Gamorrean Guards, or Gamorrean Guards, however you say it. There are 4 of them that I have, and every one of them has their axe with them. Need to put some time in the gym, bro. And then we have the 3 Biker Scouts for the 3 speed bikes I have. And every one of them has the specific pistol that they're supposed to have. So I've got 3 of those. First one in the next row is the original Luke Skywalker. So this is Luke. He has the original yellow lightsaber, which I have no idea why they gave him a yellow one, because the only one he used in the original Star Wars was blue. However, he's got his yellow one, and I will note that I believe I have an extra blue one for him, which would have been Ben Kenobi's, I guess. So if you don't like the yellow, you can always give him the blue one again. And we have the two AT-AT drivers, the big four-legged guy, and they both have their specific weapons that they're supposed to as well. We then have Han as he appeared in Bespin, and he's got the pistol that he's supposed to have there. And this would have been shortly before he gets frozen in carbonate. Our favorite chatty droid, C-3PO. I do have two of the C-3POs, and they're kind of more silver than gold these days. Neither of these has the removable limbs. However, I do have the case to carry on the back of Chewbacca. So if you want to put him, you know, in the case like that and have Chewie carry him around, you can do that. But they're both just the standard C-3POs, no removable limbs. This was actually my very first Star Wars figure I got in a stocking at Christmas. No package, just the figure and his weapon when I was pretty young. I don't know, 5 years old, whatever it was, something like that. But yeah, this was my very first Star Wars figure and kind of built the collection from there. And he has the pistol that he came with. And you can argue who shot first between him and Han if you want. This is the Rebel Commander, and the Rebel Commander's rifle is the correct rifle, but if you look very close, the shoulder strap actually had broke and I glued it. So it's the correct weapon, it's just glued, so just trying to make sure I point that out. Next is Lobot. Lobot is unique, not necessarily a big deal with the character in the movie. He was just one of Lando's kind of right-hand man, I think, in the Empire Strikes Back. But his weapon, I gave him a unique one, and it actually wasn't even on the cheat sheet that I have. But the reason I gave it to him was because when I bought this figure, he did not have a weapon with him. So I wrote a letter to Kenner and I said, hey, I bought a guy, I like your toys, but I got a guy and he didn't come with a weapon. And they sent me a bag or two of all these assorted weapons. So that's why all these figures are able to have weapons, because I had a whole bunch of extra ones despite some of these coming from like garage sales and whatever else. So anyway, he has a very unique weapon. Like I said, it wasn't on the cheat sheet, but he does have a weapon now. Then is the AT-AT Commander, and his face, it looks like the nose just kind of wore off the paint a little bit, unless he's just a brown noser. He has a weapon. It is the Stormtrooper weapon, so it is not the weapon he originally came with, but it is an Imperial weapon nonetheless, so he still has something. But it is not the original weapon. Next are one of the crowd favorites, Boba Fett. I don't think anybody would have guessed in Imperial Strikes Back came out how popular Boba Fett would be to basically spin off the whole Mandalorian show and everything else. But he is one of the favorite characters, and he does have the weapon he came with, which is basically the Stormtrooper weapon as well. Here's another favorite, Chewbacca. I've got two Chewbaccas. This one has the correct weapon, and this one has a different weapon. So they both have weapons, but only one has the original. Then is 21B. These are medical droids for the rebels. You see these on Hoth, helping Luke after he's freezing out there in the snow and gets attacked by the Wampa. And they both have their wands, I guess. This little guy is Snaggletooth, and he has a weapon, but it is not the original weapon, so just letting you know that. Then we have Dengar, and Dengar, although he kind of looks like a homeless person that got bandaged up and sent home from the ER for falling on his head, he is a bounty hunter that we see in Empire Strikes Back. And this would be the original weapon that he was supposed to have. We then have 4 Imperial Commanders, and each of them has the correct weapon, which is a blue version of the Stormtrooper rifle or pistol. So we got 4 Imperial Commanders. And you need a lot because Vader seems to keep choking them to death. Next we have Luke on Bespin. So this is what he looks like when he leaves Dagobah and flies to Bespin to rescue everybody. He has the pistol he is supposed to come with. However, he does not have the yellow lightsaber, and it's not one that comes out of the arm. This one would be one that he grips like the green one on the figures from Jedi, but he does not have his yellow lightsaber, which wouldn't be accurate anyway. These are the Hoth Stormtroopers. They both have their little kilts. This one has the correct weapon that he was supposed to have, and the other one has just a normal Stormtrooper one in blue. And the last row, we have 3 Stormtroopers, and they all have their original pistols that they should, or blasters. Next is the Rebel Soldier. This was a guy that you would see on Hoth. He's got his backpack. He has a pistol. This is not the exact pistol he came with, but he does have a weapon. Next is the original Princess Leia. She has her original white cloak. However, there was a tear right there, and I used a little bit of white vinyl tape to patch it, but it is damaged and repaired, so just making you aware of that. However, she does have her original Leia pistol. Next is Obi-Wan Kenobi, and he has his cloak as he came, and he also has his blue lightsaber, and this is the style that slides in and out of the arm. Next we have a Han Solo. This would have been one of the original styles, and he has his pistol that he came with. The Star Destroyer Commander also has the pistol, same as the Stormtroopers that he came with. Next are the Tusken Raiders, and you can see that I have 3 Tusken Raiders. So 2 of them have all 3 of them have the cloak as they should. 2 of them have the proper Tusken Raider weapon that we saw them use on Tatooine. The 3rd one has his cloak. He does not have the original weapon. He has something very similar. In fact, it's the same one that the Rancor Keeper had. So he has a weapon similar, but not exactly what he came with. Next we have 2 IG-88s. Both of them look in good shape. They both have the weapon that they came with. It does appear that there were a couple options they could have come with, and I have some other of those options as well. Again, there are some extra weapons that you'll see in one of the other videos or at the end of this one. So 2 IG-88s, and those were a bounty hunter that we saw in Empire Strikes Back. Also in Empire were the Ugnaughts. I have 2 Ugnaughts. It looks like one needs to get out in the sun a little bit more than the other one. They both have their little purple aprons, and they both have their white briefcases, and these guys were in the junk room in Bespin, Cloud City. Then we have 3 of the Jawas, and each of the Jawas comes with the hood, cloak, whatever you want to call it, and the weapon that they originally came with. All 3 of them are intact, cloaks and weapons. Next is the Power Droid. Power Droid has his clickers for the legs, and there were no weapons that came with this guy. Next is Yoda. Yes. For 900 years old, he still looks pretty good. He has his white cloth robe. He's got his little belt. He's got the orange snake around his neck, and he has his little cane. So he's good condition, is he? Yes. Next are two Luke as an X-Wing pilot. They do not have the original weapon. They both have pistols that are Rebel pistols, but they do not have the original weapons. But they're not, both of them are in good shape. We have a Death Star droid who looks a lot like C-3PO, but this is the Death Star droid. You can tell by the face mostly. Got kind of a snout. And there were no weapons with this guy. And the last figure is Bosk. I have two Bosks. These again were the bounty hunters from Empire, and they both have the weapon that they came with. In addition to all the figures, and there are 117 total, so there were originally 92 figures available. I have multiples of some and some are missing, but in total there should be 117 figures. Again, a lot of them have their weapons, some have substitute weapons, but in the video below you'll see a link for the Excel sheet on my website that you can download that has all the details of which ones have a substitute weapon versus the original, the whole list of them. In addition to the figures, I also have back cards, not for all of them, because some of them were bought at garage sales, but I do have a lot of them, to say the least. There's a lot, most of them are from Empire and Jedi as far as the backing on that goes. There could be a few Star Wars, but I'm thinking most are going to be Jedi and Empire. But I do have a stack of them, and again you can see that the circles have been cut out for proof of purchase so I could get other goodies with it. So there's those items there. In addition, there are also an assortment of various other weapons, extra weapons. So if you do lose one, you might luck out and have an extra of that exact one, or at least you have something similar so they're not empty-handed. And I'll include a printout of that thing I found on the website that shows kind of a reference for this as well. That wraps up the action figures. The next video you'll start seeing the bigger items behind me, and then the end will be on some of the little odds and ends as kind of just bonus items that will be included in this collection as well. Once I have them listed online on eBay, or if I've already made a sale, I'll note that, but that will be down in the description below, as well as that Excel sheet that lists everything I have and any defects or weapon substitutions or whatever. So if you haven't done so, please click the link below to subscribe and hit the bell for notifications so you don't miss any more Gen X toy fun. And let's live for today.